Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Chit Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Guy Magno. Thanks for continuing to join us by listening to these episodes. Today, I had a really great conversation with my friend Brady. He and Rick run Anderson Hughs. They're a video production company in town. So we had a good conversation about kind of our worlds and our careers as being videographers, but it was so much more than that. Brady had an entire career working in the public schools and doing social work, and even just that thing that he's passionate about, how that has now kind of like overlapped in his video business. It was super, super fun, and I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm excited for you to listen along. Brady, thanks for joining us on the Chit Chat Podcast.
You bet, absolutely.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. Really appreciate you joining us. Would you start actually? Before you introduce yourself, I want to pour us a little cup of coffee so we can get going in style.
I'd love a cup of coffee.
I know that you're kind of a dark roast guy, that you like yours. I think you said you kind of want to chew on it a little bit.
A little bit.
Right? A little thick. This happens to be a light roast today. We'll throw a little cream in it for you, but this is a light roast. Here's the deal with light roasts. They haven't been roasted so long that they have kind of lost some of the nuance that makes that bean special. So that's kind of why people like light roasts. But if you like that really kind of charred, dark roast kind of deep flavor, which is great, we'll get you next time with that.
Yeah, just leave the pot on a little longer and it'll become a dark charred roast.
That's right. All right. There you are, a little room for cream on there for you.
Awesome.
All right, so Brady, would you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been in Central Minnesota? What do you do? I know your story, but it would just be fun for you to just introduce.
Like how far back do you want me to go?
That's a good question.
Because I've been here for 35 years.
All right.
So.
Well, I for sure want to touch on your current career, but I think it's fascinating kind of how you got here through the military, through school.
Sure.
I think all of that's fascinating. So maybe just touch on that.
Sure. Well, I had been in the military. I joined the military in 1987, right out of high school. Spent 4 years on active duty with the Range Battalion, and then got out and did some time with Special Forces. Eventually went to college. Ended up at the University of Kansas, where I met my wife. And
is that the Rock'em Sock'em Jayhawk'ems?
That's it.
My brother-in-law Billy. Hey.
Does he go there too, or
he
used
went?
To?
And I always say that to him, Rock'em Sock'em Jayhawk'ems, which
it.
I don't think is quite right, but it's close.
It's close.
All right, so you went to KU.
Met my wife while I was down there, and she is from St. Cloud.
Okay.
And I had never thought about moving to Minnesota. Knew nothing of Minnesota. Don't think I'd ever even been to Minnesota. But moved to Minnesota 35 years ago, and came up, was a therapist. I was a master's level clinician working with children at the children's home here at the St. Cloud Children's Home. And worked there for about 3 or 4 years, where I was recruited by District 742 to become a school social worker, where I spent the next 23 years. In short, loved my career with education, lots of stories, lots of fun experiences, best job I ever had. And then started a business, Anderson Hughs Productions, and here we are in our 6th year now, and we're doing great.
Awesome.
That's where I'm at. That's what brought me here.
And so that's kind of how you and I know each other, just running video companies in town and sharing a space together at Cooper. And it's been really fun to share a space with you guys and swap gear on occasion and knowledge and all kinds of stuff. So it's been really, really sweet to have you guys here. How did running a video production company, did that kind of sneak up on you after a career in social work and working in the public schools, or had it always kind of been in the back of your mind? I think someday I maybe want to do something photo, something video.
No, it didn't. It was never something in my mind. I had, although if I go way back, I was intrigued with the VHS camera of when I was in the 5th and 6th grade, that they could produce something and put it on a tape. That was pretty intriguing.
Yeah.
But that's a really long time ago, back to like 1976.
Sure.
But when I got out of the military, I'd always been a photographer. I'd photographed my entire life. From the time I got my first job, I was working in a camera shop and knew how to run cameras, photograph people and things. And in fact, the yearbook was largely photographed by pictures that I took, because I was with that guy,
That's really fun.
And so when I got out of the military, and when I retired from the military in 2011, I started a business, Brady Hughs Photography here in St. Cloud,
Yeah.
and grew that. It grew very quick and had primarily focusing on senior pictures and maybe a few weddings and some families and so forth, but primarily seniors because that's what I worked with in the school system was school age students. And I had so now here we were in 2018, and I secured a very small grant through a local nonprofit to make a video. It was a $1,000 grant to make a video about what mattered to kids, And so because I worked with students who were who had a lot of difficulties in their life and were struggling with a lot of different things, myself and some other clinicians got together with them, and we broke bread with junior high and high school and ALC and kids with mental health issues and so forth, and we made a video with my little Canon 5D Mark IV, and I knew nothing about video, but I knew it had
camera.
a record button, so
Yeah.
I try it out. Had no knowledge of what a gimbal was or anything like that, and a lot of handheld stuff, and made a video, and 4 months later, it was too powerful to watch. It triggered kids, and the kids were the ones the kids that we worked with are the ones who wrote the script, and it was about their lives and about and they found that one common denominator they all had was bullying. They'd all been bullied. And so from there, the hospital reached out and said, hey, would you make a few more for us? And I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
And right about then, it was an opportunity to retire from education and start a video production company, and here we are.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. Do you have access to that video still?
I do, yeah.
Would you show it to me sometime?
I will.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'd love to see that. Is there a part of you that cringes when you look back at it just because of like what you know now about like the level of production, and you look back at it and see some of its youth?
There's a little cringy to it. It's when I will look back on it, it is primarily due to the pain that you see the kids go through. That's probably the bigger cringe for me. Of course, you see the jerky camera movements, and but I still had. I don't know where I got the skills from because I didn't watch any videos on how to do it or anything else. I wasn't a YouTuber or anything, and had an opportunity. The shots are over the shoulder shots. You got a kid that's gonna harm herself, and it was a pretty powerful little video. In fact, it was just too powerful.
Yeah.
To watch.
Man, well, I can't wait to see it. I mean, it's not nearly as like emotional or powerful like that, but when I look, every once in a while, I'll pull out the hard drive number 1, and I think we're currently on hard drive 10.
Yeah.
These big giant hard drives, and I have basically every photo that I've ever taken. But so those first ones, those first portrait shoots, ooh, they're bad. They're so bad, and but I can see as you're looking at them, you can kind of see, oh, I'm trying here. I see what I'm doing here. I know why I picked this spot, and this is kind of what the light was doing here. I'm not engaging with it well, but like I can see what I'm doing. So there's something every once in a while. I bet you every maybe 18 months or so I plug it in and I just go take a little, look and see some of that old stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that, and I have done that, where I go back and look where I started in photography, and I knew nothing about light, and photography is all about light.
Yeah.
You can have a decent camera and take a decent picture, but you can have a decent camera and take a phenomenal picture. If you know lighting.
Yep, for sure. There was a class that I took years ago on Creative Live. Do you know Creative Live? Mm-hmm. And it was, I forget the woman's name off the top of my head. She's a really accomplished, I think, fashion photographer. And she was sick and tired of people, when they would see these nice photos that she took, people would tell her, oh, what a great camera. Like you're looking at this photo and like you're engaging with like how powerful this image is. But like if you don't actually know anything about it, like a response could be, what a great camera. And she kind of took the umbrage to this, this like kind of this great insult to it. So she got a toy camera, like a camera that you would give to like a baby, like kids.
Yep.
And she did a really incredible photo shoot and got it published, and it was in magazines, and but it was just with this like absolute garbage camera, because it's not about the quality of gear.
No.
It's about, do you understand light? Do you understand story and development? And so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, neat. And so when you were in the military, you had your camera with you as well?
I did have a camera with me, but there was most of what I did with the military you couldn't take.
Yeah.
Couldn't take pictures.
Sure.
So it was in that I was in the Range Battalion, and the Range Battalion is a 18-hour anywhere in the world deployment force that goes to do whatever needs to be done.
So 18 hours, like from right now, start a clock, 18 hours, you could be literally anywhere in the world. Okay. Wow.
So it's a rapid deployment force to go anywhere. And yeah, you weren't allowed to take pictures.
Yeah, I get it.
So, nowadays there's lots of stuff, and they just blur out the faces, and everyone knows where everybody's been, so they know what Afghanistan looks like and so forth. But back then, in the 80s, we weren't traipsing around the world like we were supposed to be, and so it was a little different. So
Interesting. Maybe unpack a little. Could you tell me what is it like to be a Ranger? Tell me a little bit about that experience. And you said Ranger for 4 years?
Yeah. Just shy of 4 years in basic training and so forth. The Rangers are like I said, it's you have your Army, you have tanks, you've got artillery, you've got infantry, you've got medics, you've got cooks, you've got clerical, you've got all those different specialty. And in those, you also have, many of those are also in the Range Battalion. Rangers tend to be infantry. They're your meet the face of the enemy with your gun and with your bayonet kind of guys. But they're also trained to jump from airplanes. They ride motorcycles and gun jeeps, and have a lot of different ways to get in: scuba dive, skydive, halo, and we do it all. And truly one of the epic times in fact, I would say that being in Rangers and going to Ranger school, that's probably my pinnacle experience in life. Aside from having kids, and we can talk about that another time, or a little later. But you think about what are the challenging things in life. What's the one thing you measure everything else off of for difficulty? And for me, nothing I have found in life has been as difficult as being in a unit where given 110% is every day. And so now I can do anything because I've already done hard. Nothing's hard compared to that. And but just a lot of cool missions and things that we got to go on. We train with the SEAL teams, train with Delta, train with a variety of foreign forces that do the same kind of things we do.
Right.
But it's the kind of stuff that you see in the movies. You look at the movies and you go, oh, that's a little overdone. Well, in reality, a lot of times the movies are just telling you what really is happening. I remember being on a motorcycle team and we would do an airport seizure. We'd take down an airport in another country, let's say, and that's what we're rehearsing for. And my motorcycle's got a crate around it, and there's another motorcycle over here on the other side of the aircraft. And we're flying in at 2 o'clock in the morning at 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet, and we push our motorcycle out, and then we jump out after it, and then we're a little chem light on it. We know where it's at. You get down on the ground, and you take off the quick release straps, and the box falls to the ground, and you start it up, and you pull down your night vision so you can see, and you put your gun on the front so you had a place to hold it, and you drop your radio in your ear, and you clear that runway, make sure there's no obstacles or vehicles or things that are hidden on that runway that a plane might hit and crash. Because right behind me in about 3 to 4 minutes, there are 5
Planes coming
with a whole bunch of guys on them with gun jeeps and so forth that are going to land all at the same time. And little helicopters are going to come out of them and so forth. And we're going to go do some cool things. And then within about an hour, we're going to get back on that plane, have everybody loaded back in, everybody's accounted for, and fly away. And nobody knew the wiser, hostage rescue or a takedown or something. So
fascinating.
Yeah, truly cool stuff.
Wow. Well, Brady, thanks for your service. And appreciate that.
Honor to have served.
Great. And maybe we tell us a little bit more about Anderson Hughs. And
Sure.
what do you guys do? What do you guys care about? What's your approach?
Yeah. So Anderson Hughs was a brainchild, like I said, following the little video that I had made. I met Rick Anderson. Our kids went to school together, even though we didn't really know one another or hang out much. Our kids
Soccer dads?
Yeah, well, we didn't have any. We kind of he was a hockey dad and I was a dance dad. So I mean, our kids didn't interact in that way, but the kids all knew one another. But anyway, I was photographing his kids and talked to his wife one day, and I had told her about this video I'd made for the district, and she's like, "Well, you should talk with Rick. He's into editing, And he knew that he had had a big business before and had a fundraising company that was highly successful, and understood some of the business nuances that I hadn't yet experienced. And so he and I met at the Blue Line one night. We bumped into one another. We just both happened to be there, and our spouses were there. And he and I both just stepped aside, and 20 minutes later, we're like, let's have another conversation. And, a week later, we sat down and shook hands and said, let's do this. And, like I said, we had a couple of cameras. Nothing was cinema. It was just basic
Entry-level stuff.
And we already had, he brought a couple of accounts with him. I brought the couple of accounts with me that I'd set up, and we were in business very quickly. And
cool.
we realized after about 6-8 months that the little entry level stuff wasn't gonna do it, and we decided to invest heavily, and here we are today.
That's really, really great. And maybe like what's your kind of approach to video, and what do you guys care about? What are some of your favorite kinds of projects?
I love being a storyteller.
Yeah.
I wish there were more stories to really tell. In the nutshell, a lot of what we do is business to business video content. They need a message to be marketed or something to be put out there. We focus on business to business videos, nonprofit stuff, TV commercials, promotional content, social media. But in reality, the ones that are a lot of fun is when you get to capture someone's authentic story and what their life is like, and that comes through in the story, and it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, sweet. Don't you think that, if you had the time, don't you think everybody has a story to tell?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's got a story to tell, and I would say this even that, the one thing that most people do, and when I say most people, this is just me being a counselor, someone that's most people listen to respond instead of listen to listen. And, everybody has a story to share with someone else, but they rarely get asked about their story. So one of the things that I like to do is, whether I'm sitting on an airplane or whether I'm in an elevator or something, I engage people next to me, and I'm, hey, tell me about your story. Where are you from? And just get them talking and listening, because people really want to share their life. They've got a lot of great things to share, whether they're struggles or loves, and they just got to have someone that's willing to listen to the whole thing without, oh yeah, I also do that, and take the story away.
I'm kind of an extrovert. I love a good conversation. I love meeting people. And as a kid, like starting as a kid, I started traveling a lot. And even as a kid, I might be flying by myself or, maybe in a group or something, but you're kind of spread out on the plane. And I loved the roulette of sorts of like, who are you going to get? Like, who's going to be sitting next to you? And it was never like a competition of like, ooh, I'm going to try to make a friend by the time the plane lands. But inevitably I was just trying to get to know someone. And I've noticed in the last, 10 plus years, nobody talks on the plane anymore because everybody has a phone. And I think that it feels like that era, that thing of like, maybe by the end of the flight, you actually have like a really special interaction with some human that you'll never see again, which is something, I think there's even kind of something special about that.
Yeah, very special.
Like the council of stranger thing, like what you can share and maybe what they might feel comfortable sharing with you. Like you're going to walk off this plane, you'll never see each other ever again. I don't know. Even as a kid, I just loved that thing.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, just a little old lady sitting next to me, and we just turned and talked for hours. And I love that. And it feels like that thing is behind us. It doesn't exist anymore because everybody, is just hiding, picking up their phone. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm not saying I'm above that, but it is, I feel like maybe the loss of that when I'm on planes now.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I think there's still an opportunity to break through that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes a question or something, and you can get them. People want to tell their story; they'll put their phones down for that because it's a far richer experience to have a conversation with someone than to sit there and look at your messages or scroll your social media.
Yeah. What's your go-to question to break through sitting on a plane?
I wish I had a single question. I would say that. I tend to just meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
You can talk about weather. You can talk about where you're going. What do you are you going home or are you visiting?
That's mine. Are you coming or going?
Are you coming or going? And you just crack the question, and then you just take it from there and go wherever it goes. Yeah.
even this podcast that, it's called Chit Chat. We're not trying to solve any of the world's problems, but, we think that people are really neat, and the stories that are happening here in St. Cloud, the businesses and the organizations that people are a part of are special. They're kind of the fabric of what makes our community unique and special. And so that's it. We want to have conversations with neat people.
It's an interesting topic, or it's an interesting way of doing it, but you're absolutely right. Everybody has a story. People should be paying attention to conversations and, listening.
Yeah. So you've been in St. Cloud a long time. I mean, it's an interesting thing. Like, we've had a couple of these people that we've had on the podcast where one of the last guys, Bob Johnson, who we had on, he's been in St. Cloud longer than I have been alive, I think. But he also had a life and a career outside of Minnesota. And so he came in kind of as an outsider. And even, coming here as an adult, even though you've been here a long time, you sit in this unique spot where you kind of understand you understand what our community is, but also you have knowledge of some other community as well. What have you seen in the last 35-ish years of being in our community? What made our community special when you first came, and how have you seen our community change or grow in that time that you've been here?
I would say that for me, not having been from Minnesota originally, in fact, moving here in '94, the thing that probably drew me the most to this place was just the sheer opportunity to do things. You had a large city to your east that you could go see plays and nightlife and different kinds of things that were down there. You had hunting and fishing and you had a 4 seasons. You got to see the full seasons. If you're into snowmobiling or skiing, which I am, you got to embrace all those outdoor activities, which is what really drew me in. As far as the community goes, I would say that, it's interesting. This 30 years ago, this felt like a very Catholic community. I found that there were a lot of, it was a small town feel. You had to kind of find your way into it. They were welcoming. You could come in, but it was, you met people and you started your own connections with people. St. Cloud's continued to grow. It's expanded beyond its own borders to St. Joe to Sartell, Sauk Rapids. It's just the area surrounding it has really grown, and the community has changed. I think we've seen St. Cloud becoming more and more of an older population, the homeowners. And we've got a lot of new people arriving here that are immigrants, business owners, people who want to start their future here in America with their own cultures and businesses and so forth. Demographics in schools have changed. I would say that, the things that we all need to take our hats off and be grateful that our teachers come to work every day. They really, truly do a tough job. I think that we need to remember that the students come to school to learn, and whether they're learning language as a first-time learner, as an ESL learner, or they are coming to school to learn, math, science, language arts, social studies, and Phi Ed, there's going to be challenges, but the teacher's there for one reason, and that is to help that student learn. And parents just, both kids and parents just take a moment and thank a teacher, because they are one of the difference makers here in our community.
It's great. Yeah, what a special kind of perspective of, you said almost 30 years, right, in working in the public school?
Well, I had 23 years in education.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
over 30 in mental health.
Yeah. Neat. And, what are some of and today, this stage of life, empty nester, and, so that it might be different than maybe how you would have answered 10 years ago or whatever, but what are some of your favorite things about our community? What are your favorite things to do, and what are some of the gems that you think make our community kind of special?
I would say that I've always loved our downtown.
Yeah.
I remember when the Paramount was not redone, and it was
falling apart.
It was falling apart.
Yeah.
I remember there was, when I first came here, I want to say they used it as a haunted house on Halloween, and it was boarded, sheets of plywood that were creating corridors and so forth. And so glad the city came in and invested in recreating that and bringing it to what it is today. I think our arts are special here. That the things that you get to do from from an arts perspective, from a cultural perspective. The Lemonade Festival that used to be at St. Cloud State's no longer. I don't think it's called the Lemonade Festival anymore. Or maybe it was Wheels, Wings, and Water Festival back then, and that was part of it. I think that one of the things that I've always enjoyed is that I've always felt like this is a safe community. There's lots of things to do. You point yourself in any direction, and you can go find something to do, whether it's restaurants or bars or activities. Literally, you can point yourself in any direction on the compass, and within 10 minutes, be somewhere that you have something to do at any level.
It's cool. Yeah, I love all of those things that you said. I love our little downtown. It's been interesting to watch our downtown. When I was in high school, I graduated high school in 2004. So, I probably started driving in maybe 2002 or something, one or two. And so for, I guess, 20 some odd years, I've been cruising downtown. And even though I lived in Sartell, as often as I could get to downtown, there was a little coffee shop down there called the Meeting Grounds. And I loved being there. I loved seeing concerts at the Java Joint. And I loved our little downtown. And, I don't know, it feels like downtown has had like seasons, it's like it's had seasons of challenge and seasons of growth. And I'm just really excited about kind of what's happening downtown right now. And so,
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. And there's so many, I feel like there's been kind of like a fun little kind of boon of great restaurants that have started and people that are like trying to do the non-chain thing, which is very, very, very fun, very exciting. Sweet. And will you remind me, so you're married and you have 3 daughters.
3 daughters, yeah.
And any grandbabies?
Yes, I have, let's see here. I've got one that's just graduating from high school down there in Forest Lake, and she'll be attending St. Ben's here in the fall. I've got another one that's going into the 9th grade, one going into the 6th grade, and one going into the 3rd grade. And then I have one that down in Texas, my middle daughter just had one about 7 months ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Really, really sweet. And Texas is kind of far away. How many times has Grandpa got to go down and?
In 7 months, I'd like to say I was down there more, but I've been down there twice.
Okay. Yeah.
My wife's been down there 3 times. And, ultimately, when you got a business to run, it's not like you can just take off whenever you want to.
Yeah.
But with social media and primarily with the ability to do FaceTime. My girls don't call; they FaceTime, and so you're always getting to see them, engage them, and do something that we weren't able to do growing up.
Yeah.
So really cool to see the baby grow up.
Yeah, sweet. I have my 2 kiddos that are little and 9 and 11. I think I spend time though thinking about like what will it be like to be a grandpa, and some of the conversations that you and I have had, I think in the past, just about like caring for your family and your family lineage and stuff. I love to think about stuff like that. I love to think about how to take care of your family today so that, when you have grandkids like you have, that you can, be a part of their lives in some really sweet and really, really special ways. And so I've just always appreciated our good conversations about family and life and all that stuff. So
it's probably one of the, if someone says to me, what's the best thing you've ever done, I would say it's to have children.
Yeah.
It truly is an experience you don't fully get to realize the benefits. You'll go through some challenges and struggles, and the growth of any child is going to ebb and flow in a lot of different directions. But when they become adults and you see the apple fall under the tree, and they have similar value system, and they're hardworking, and they're the things that you teach them to be, it's that you're leaving a legacy that isn't just your story, but your story is going to get continued through your children, and that's pretty powerful.
And then what's it like to watch that in the next generation with grandbabies? You have an 17 or 18-year-old grandchild. What's it like to see that kind of full circle in that 3rd generation?
It's interesting. You've heard about Hiltcopters, drill sergeants, and consultants. Foster Klein and Jim Fay out of the Love and Logic Institute, right? That's kind of how we raised our children, our girls. And, I was always the consultant, the counselor, right? Let's talk about,
Not the drill sergeant.
Not the drill sergeant, although I could put the drill sergeant hat on if necessary, but I use that sparingly because, That just wasn't going to be my approach. But my oldest daughter's a drill sergeant, and
Like she's an actual drill sergeant, or you're saying in the...
well, I mean, she's in the military also,
Okay.
so in fact, she's retiring here in about a month, and also, and so, but it's interesting. I mean, she's a drill sergeant from the manner in which she engages and disciplines her kids and so forth, and they're turning out amazing. It's like I would have thought that would have broke them, but it didn't. You know, they grew up and responded. So there really is no really right method. You know, either bottom line is children. There's playbooks, but nobody implements it exactly the right way, and there's really no way to fail as long as you're loving your kids every day and you're giving them opportunities to experience struggle so that they learn to grow and challenge themselves and realize that, you know, they can make it, but they're going to have to earn it.
Yeah.
You know.
I just have the 2 kids, and we raise them in the same home with the same standards and the same rules, and they eat the same food, and, you know, like everything is the same.
Yep.
And these little human beings could not be more different to each other than, you know, either of them from just some random kid on the street. And so even in my own home, I have to approach my kids drastically different in certain kinds of ways, because they just need, their needs for discipline and their needs for development and encouragement are so different. And so you have to, again, even if there was a playbook, like I can't run the same play with James as I do Lucy.
Right. No, it's very true.
Brady, one of the projects that I've seen you guys working on over the course of the last, I guess year plus maybe, is the video series about mental health stuff relating to, you know, kids in schools, that Feeling When. Will you just tell us a little bit more about that? Why are you working on it? Why do you care about it? Why are you passionate about it?
Well, I appreciate you asking. This series came about a year, almost 2 years ago now, was an idea of mine about how can I use video to help out students today in education. And I know that one of the things that I have really found is that our youth today, and as we just had a conversation on, many people aren't talking anymore. They're not having these conversations, and they're looking at their phone and they're looking at their tablet. They're engaging a device instead of having a real meaningful conversation. And it got me thinking. Here's just an example. You know, you watch a boy walk out of a school, whether he's in junior high, high school, doesn't really matter. But he walks out of the bathroom, and maybe he's got a tender ear. He's got a tear in his eye, and he's just kind of recomposing himself, getting ready to go back to class. But he's had a tender moment. There's something's happened in his life, and you know his buddy's watching him walk out. But from a distance, he sees him in this soft, tender moment, and instead of going up and saying, "Hey, you okay, bud? What's going on?" He gets on the group. "Hey, what's wrong with Charlie? What's wrong with, I just saw him coming out of the bathroom crying." By the time Charlie gets to class, the friend group's like looking at him like he's got a third eye in his head, and there's a real problem, and that he's just wanting to go back and fit in. But until we go up and have a conversation with him and go, "Hey, we're not going to put this out on the social network. Let's just, how about we have a real conversation, go up and put your hand on their shoulder and say, 'Hey, you doing all right, bud? What's going on?'" Maybe his dog's died. Maybe his parents are getting a divorce. Maybe there's a loss in his life. I mean, who knows? But we don't know until we have conversations. And so my thought is that what if we created a series of videos that are short, succinct, to the point? Kids are consuming social media faster and faster. So a short video clip of something happening, 90 seconds, no more than 2 minutes, where you introduce a number of characters, something happens in that scene, and then you watch this, so that the students would watch it in their advisory class or a planning room, or quite frankly, any class that, health class or language arts class, wherever the teacher or the school decides to show it. But you watch this, 90-second to 2-minute scene, and it's over. And then you give the teacher a whole bunch of questions that are already pre-thought out.
Like some prompts to engage with the video.
They're question prompts, right? You get kids to have conversations about what they saw happen in that scene, because those scenes are scripted about the very things that they're struggling with in school today. And we made 18 of them. We made 9 elementary and 9 high school. We're shooting some junior high this summer. And bottom line is I want to get these out to every school in the nation, and looking for a big investor that wants to help us get this produced, because it's pretty powerful, and the schools that have used it and teachers have used it have said great things about it. So
that's really, really cool.
In fact, if you're an educator or even a therapist working in a group setting, or a group home or something and you need some content, go to TFW K12, that's TFWK12.com. Reach out to me, and I'll get you some usage rights so that you can try it out in your facility free
cool.
of charge. So check it out. Give me a call.
It's really neat. I love how this is kind of like both of your worlds here kind of colliding.
Yep.
And what you cared about for so long in your career, in your first career, and now this new exciting project that you're working on with Anderson Hughs and all the video. Also kind of neat that like the first video that you shot, like the thing that kind of got you into video, this is just like a much bigger, broader expression of that thing that like was so powerful to you and kind of moved you into this. So I think it's exciting when your things that you're passionate about, like multiple things that you're passionate about, get to overlap and overline like that. So well done. I hope it goes really, really well and that those tools continue to be really useful.
You bet. Absolutely.
Well, sweet. Brady, I'm really thankful for your time. Thanks for coming and being on the podcast. Really, really sweet. As we close, one of my favorite little segments is an unpaid ad.
Yeah.
So, is there someone or something that you think deserves today a little advertisement?
It's not something that I don't know it. I just wear it, and I wear this shirt called True Classic.
Great.
And I bought half a dozen of them here. Actually, my wife bought them for me, half a dozen of these black ones, because she didn't like the shirts the way they fit on me, and she had seen this ad, and so she bought these for me. And from that point on, I don't wear any other shirt because it truly is everything that True Classic says they are. So if you haven't got a True Classic, go out and get yourself one.
I'm going to have to check it out. I wear the exact same thing every day, kind of a life uniform thing. And, this current black t-shirt, I think I'm kind of over it. Yeah. And so I think it's time to maybe upgrade, and I'll have to give the True.
You won't be disappointed. True Classic will serve you well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. My unpaid ad for the day is for a little thing called Shazam. When I'm out and about, this is a little like superpower of mine. If I'm somewhere and I'm having a conversation with someone, I'm always also aware of whatever music is playing in the background. And I might like it, I might dislike it, but like if you ask me at the end of a conversation, there's a decent chance that I could at least name a couple of the songs that played while we were sitting and having coffee or whatever. Right. I can't turn it off. Sometimes I wish I could, but if there's music on, I have my brain is giving some amount of attention to it. And often when you're like, that's a great song, what is that? I just ask my phone, like, hey Siri, what is this song? And she opens this little Shazam icon and blink, and I get the song.
Yeah.
And just like that. So if you've used it, you know how great it is. And if you haven't used it, you should Shazam more things. It's a great way to keep learning new music.
And just to be a little different here, when I'm in any establishment, there can be music playing, and I don't hear it at all.
Fascinating.
I mean, it's like, you have to tell me what do you think the song is, and then I'll listen.
Wait. What song?
What song?
Yeah.
I don't hear music.
Yeah. I was a music major in college, so I've devoted a substantial amount of my life to music. And so I think maybe there's that little little piece of
people who have the gift of listening to music and doing what you do. I wish I had some of that, because I think I'm missing out on some things. If I turn on music, it's to truly pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm off in my thoughts or whatever, and I'm not even hearing it.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Well, sweet. Brady, thanks for coming on. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We love sharing a space with you and being your guys' friends and talking shop and talking business and life and all that has been so fun. Yeah. Thanks for coming on the podcast and doing some of that thing that you and I do so often. Sure. Doing it here has been really, really great. And it's been fun to hear about what you're passionate about, what you care about, and how so much of that has gotten to overlap in your career. Sure. So, I
appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
You bet.